Now, it's no big secret that deep down inside all of us, we all like that feeling of being scared. We all like to pretty much go to movies and pretty much watch something like The Conjuring or Annabelle or hell, the Paranormal Activity movies because of the fact that we like to be scared. We like to sit down and watch things that will pretty much scare us. We like to pretty much sit there in the dark theaters and pretty much wait until something pops out of us, and then next thing you know, we jump in our seat and spill our popcorn. But when it comes to us gamers, we don't like to go to movie theaters just so we can be scared on screen. There are gamers like us that actually like to sit down in the comforts of our own home, sit in the dark, play a somewhat eerie looking game. So I decided to go ahead and sit down and do this review, and might as well just go ahead and give my 2 cents about it. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my review of Bendy and the Ink Machine. Let the terror begin.
He will set us free.
It just goes to show you that no matter what happens, there's always going to be an indie company that pretty much specializes in making really, really great games. Now, I pretty much had a personal experience with indie games from playing Shovel Knight, and Shovel Knight became one of my most favorite games ever. Not only did it blend classic gameplay elements, but also keeping true to its own thing while pretty much playing the game. And that's what I felt like Bendy was pretty much trying to do. This is a survival horror game that was actually developed and published by the Joey Drew Studios Inc. Yes, I'm not kidding. That Joey Drew Studios. And it was built to be a survival puzzle game that where you pretty much play as a young man named Henry Stein, who is a retired animator who came back to the studio just because he got a letter from his old boss, Joey Drew himself, to pretty much take a look at a small project. But when Henry sets foot in the old studios, apparently everything goes berserk, as it turns out of that during the time of his absence, the studios have gone to hell. And I do mean hell. Like seriously, all these cartoon characters are starting to come to life and through some demonic possession or demonic, summoning and everything. As it turns out, these characters are literally alive. They're not just cartoons anymore. And they all want Henry. They all want him to be part of the machine. Now, I honestly thought that this idea was pretty much interesting right when it was first released back in 2017 on Steam, and because of the fact that it came in 5 episodes, it had to sit there and wait until another episode had come out just so we can see what the hell is going to happen in the next story. And of course, I was one of those people that literally waited until like all 5 of the episodes came out, or in this case when GameStop pretty much had the physical copy of it, and I just swooped in and took that, and I pretty much called it a day. But I'm glad I did, because now I could just sit at home and pretty much play all 5 of the episodes of Bendy and the Ink Machine so that I don't have to sit and wait for months and months on end just to see how the hell the story is going to end. As it turns out, this game was still developed by Joey Drew Studios, but it was actually published by Rooster Teeth Games. I didn't even know Rooster Teeth does games. But apparently the game is still the same, as you pretty much play as Henry trying to trudge your way through the abandoned studios and trying to make your way out of here in one piece, as every single cartoon tries to kill you. And I do mean every single goddamn cartoon tries to kill you. Now, this isn't one of those survival games where you literally have to pick up a gun and start shooting at everything that crawls. This isn't like one of those Resident Evil games. Oh, no. This is a game where you literally have to use your wits and your puzzle solving skills in order to figure out not only how to get the hell out of there, but also to figure out what just happened to pretty much make this whole place gone to the, to the demons. You know what I'm saying? This is a game that's pretty much trying to make you understand, and not only understand, but also try to figure out what's going on in this studio. Like, seriously, Joey, what's going on, man? Now I'm starting to realize why I quit this job to begin with. But as always, there's always got to be some good things and bad things about the game. Now, keep in mind that even though I call this a review, this is still my opinion about the game. So please don't get butthurt if I pretty much tell you something that I do like about the game and something that I don't like about the game. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you do like it, then stick around. I really don't care. Or if you have something else that pretty much you don't like or you pretty much like in the game, please leave it down in the comments below. Let me know about it. Please tell me. Start a conversation. I don't really care. Just be mindful and be respectful. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, with all due respect, let's go ahead and get on with the review. Or with the, I don't know. I'm still tired. But anywho, let's talk about some good things about the game. For one, the style of the game is perfectly creepy. Like, when I first played the game, I really didn't understand why everything was completely yellow. I thought this was a game where it takes place in the studio. So why isn't there color? Well, that's the whole point of the game. It's yellow because it's supposed to be a creepy, eerie kind of setting. You know what I'm saying? You're in an abandoned cartoon studio, so of course it has to have some sort of creepy horror like elements in here. It's supposed to pretty much give off the sense of abandonment, the sense of isolation. You're all alone in a studio where there's nothing going on, and the more you pretty much make discoveries in the studio, the more this random empty studio becomes nothing more but a deep, dark, hellish nightmare that you're trying to get out of. One day you pretty much go into the studio and there's nothing there, and then in another instance there's something popping out trying to kill you, or something trying to chase you. In one instance you pretty much come across something and that's pretty much helpful. In another instance you get attacked by something that you didn't even see coming. Or in some instances, you'll come across characters that will help you, some characters that will kill you, etc., etc., etc. Basically, this is a game where you don't even know what to expect, and the style of the game pretty much fits. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen. You're on your toes every 5 seconds, because whatever action that you chose to go with, it will either let you succeed or it will, get you killed. Either way it goes, I love the style of the game. It kind of is reminiscent of the old classic 1930s style. Like, I wouldn't say like Walt Disney or anything, but more like the Fleischer comics. Because let's be honest, the Fleischer Studios, I remember watching these cartoons all the time. And by the style of it and by the way these characters look and how the studio pretty much portrays itself, that's kind of what I'm thinking of right now. I keep thinking to myself, this is probably what the abandoned Fleischer Studios would probably look like. Probably. I don't really know. But anyway, the style of the game fits it perfectly, and also the story and the lore is great and offers more to the mystery of the game. So that's the second thing. All right, I love games with a lot of story and a lot of lore to it. That's pretty much what hooks me into the game. If you have a great story, if you have a lore that I can pretty much look into, I'll just sit there and pretty much spend more time learning more about your game rather than just playing it. And that's what Bendy pretty much does. When you start out the game, Henry just walks into the studio. We don't know why he's there. All we know is that his old boss invited him to the studio. That's it. Nothing else. So you start out the game not knowing exactly why you're here. You don't know what's the reason for being here. All you know is that you're just here. And then all of a sudden you come across a couple of recordings of people who used to work here. And then you start to get a bit of an idea of what's been going on. As apparently the more you discover these recordings, the more it gives you something about the world to pretty much understand. And the deeper that you trudge deep into the studio, and the more recordings and the more letters and the more secrets that you find, you start to learn more and more and more about the world as you go along. So it's not just the fact that people just up and left and everything. No, there's a specific reason to why it happened. There's always a cause and effect. There's always a reason why this person did this, and this is why this happened. It's always a cause and effect that pretty much affects the story. Now, I'm not saying that it's kind of like something that you would do that would affect the story all that much, like in some RPG games and everything like that. It's more akin to like, this is why this character left, this is why this character did this, and it pretty much has an effect on this. And as it turns out, the whole story and the lore revolves not just around the ink machine, to where it's pretty much evident in the title, but it revolves around the character of Bendy himself. Apparently, even though that Bendy isn't really shown all that much in the game, he plays a pivotal role in the game. But what role does he play in the game? Well, you're just going to have to keep playing the game in order to find out, just so you can get a good idea of it. And I like that. It doesn't really outright tells us why Bendy is here or why is he the essential core of the game, but it literally reminds you that he is the core of the game. He's pretty much the reason why everything is happening. Well, not really him altogether, but all of these people and all these things that you pretty much find out about this place, everything that you see or everything that you discover, it all revolves around this one character. And that's where the big mystery comes into place. Why is Bendy so important? What makes these people go on? What is the reason and this character exists even when this place has pretty much gone and pretty much been abandoned and everything? Why are we here? Why is this character such an important part of the story? Well, you just gotta keep going and playing to find out, you know what I mean? And that leads to the next part, and that is the creatures and the monsters. And they are creepy and terrifying. And oh, are they terrifying. You would come across the projector demon. I'm just calling him the projector demon. I think he's called the projector. I don't know. But this thing is probably the most creepiest thing in the entire game, because he has this thing to where if he sees you or if the projector shines on you and you're anywhere near the light, he will come chase after you, and it's the most terrifying thing ever. And if you think that's the most terrifying experience that you will pretty much have throughout the entire game, you're wrong, because then there is the demon. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Bendy himself. I mean, you could obviously tell from the way he looks and how his head is shaped and everything. You could already tell that's Bendy. But the way he pretty much plays in the game is the most terrifying thing that you will ever experience. He will literally appear out of nowhere. And the only way that you know he's there is if you see a dark area or a dark spotted place all around the wall, and then next thing you know, he'll pretty much show himself, and he is like the most terrifying thing ever. Like, I'm literally shaking now just talking about it. Like, literally, the minute you see him, you have no choice but to hide. You can't fight him. Even if you have a weapon, it doesn't do anything to him. He will literally kill you when he finds you. And that's the same with all the other characters. You don't have weapons in this game. You don't have a gun. You don't have a semi-automatic. You don't have a rocket launcher. The only thing you probably will have is a wrench, or you just have nothing at all. You have no choice but to hide and run from these characters, because if they catch you, you're done, and you have to start the entire thing from the beginning of the stage. And if you think it's terrifying enough trying to get through it in one shot, try dying and trying to make sure that you don't screw up again, because that's an anxiety-filled nightmare. And let me tell you, I play video games all throughout my life, and I hate starting from one area just because I screw up and I wind up dead and I have to start the whole thing over again. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the monsters and the creatures that you run into in the game, they are really terrifying. But they do their job perfectly, and that's to scare you. So as long as they're doing their job, I really have nothing to complain about. And then this leads up to the next thing that I love about the game. The areas and the rooms. They are perfect setup for jump scares. Now, we all know that when you sit down and watch a movie, there's always going to be a moment where you can tell, oh yeah, there's going to be a jump scare right there. But it doesn't give you the feeling of living that experience that there's going to be a jump scare. Like, you don't play as a character that you are pretty much walking down the hall and you're hoping that things will be normal and everything. And then next thing you know, it gets creepy. It gets really scary. Like if you're walking down a really narrow hallway and it's just nothing but black ink everywhere, you start to feel really terrified. Not just because of the fact that there are monsters lurking around, but because of the fact that how the rooms and everything looks, it makes you terrified. It makes you scared, and it pretty much makes you want to get the hell out of there as quickly as you possibly can. And that's what a horror survival game is supposed to make you feel like. You want to get the hell out of there. You want to try to find your way out. You want to try to pretty much like not run into monsters. That's the whole point. And this game pretty much does it well. Not only are you trying to hide from the monsters and everything, but you're trying to find a way to pretty much get out of this place, trying to find every single clue you can, every key, every crack, every thing that you can to survive. Because if you pretty much don't, and unless you pretty much plan ahead of time and know exactly where you're going and what you're going to do in this area, you are dead. Point blank, period. And you know, even if you're not dead, it sets up perfect scares and everything. Like, take for example episode 3, where you're pretty much doing this errand for Alice Angel. Now, every once in a while, the demon will pop up and you have to hide from him. You have to wait till he pretty much walk past you, or you have to wait until the black area that is shown around him pretty much disappears, and that shows he's gone. So there could be a moment that you could pretty much say, oh, okay, so he's completely gone. I could just walk to the elevator and everything. Then all of a sudden, he's waiting for you at the staircase, and he chases after you. And then you start running down the hallway. You're breathing hard. You're trying to get away from him as quick as possible. And then you just sit in the closet and hide. And then next thing you know, you see him walk past you. And then you pretty much have to thank your lucky stars that you managed to hide, because you don't know how long it will take until he catches up to you. You don't even know how fast he can run, but all you have to do is run as fast as you can, run as fast as you can down that hallway and get as far away from him as possible, because depending on where you are, unless you know where you are screwed. Point blank, period. But hey, like I said, the areas, they're pretty nifty when it pretty much wants to scare you. And God, I feel scared enough as it is. All right, and the fifth and final thing that I like about the game is that it relies more on the puzzle solving and survival than the actual fighting. Now, like I said before, you don't have guns, you don't have weapons in this game except for a wrench, and that's about it. So half the time, you'll pretty much have to rely on both your wits and your survival skills in order to survive. Now, what this means is that the game is heavily reliant on puzzles, that you have to literally try to find every clue and everything you can to pretty much solve a certain puzzle and everything. So say for instance, there could be one puzzle where you pretty much have to learn certain things in a specific order, or there could be a puzzle where you have to use certain objects in order to activate other objects. So this whole game is nothing more but you thinking on your feet, not just surviving, but pretty much trying to use your wits and trying to use the area around you in order to solve the puzzles. And then the survival plays a good deal too. Sometimes you have to rely more on the survival in certain areas than the puzzles itself. And the game is evident enough. I mean, come on. It's a game where you're pretty much running away from demonic cartoon characters who are trying to kill you, especially that thing. So yeah, of course you have to pretty much use both aspects to your advantage when it comes to this game, because you want to pretty much show that you have the puzzle solving skills to survive, and you want to know you have enough survival skills in order to live for the next episode. And even with that, there could be some moments where you pretty much go up against boss fights, and there could be like puzzle solving skills there. Well, not really much as puzzle solving skills. It's more like you see something flash, and then it pretty much gives you an idea to pretty much use it. See that flashing thing? Use it or hit it, whatever the crap. Do something. You're gonna die in 5 seconds. Do it now. I'm dead serious right now. So at least the game pretty much gives you the feeling of like trying to survive, but it also doesn't leave you in the dark as well. It gives you some moments where it pretty much tries to help you out, just so you can pretty much figure it out the rest of the way. And I like that. It just shows that I guess they know that kids are going to be the most likely demographic to play this game, and they pretty much try to make it easier for them to understand it. As for me, being an adult, being and able to sit here and play this game for the first time and everything, it was pretty much hard for me to pretty much get used to the puzzles and everything, because they were kind of hard and everything, especially the second episode. But I'm not going to get into that because that's spoiler territory. But hey, I managed to pretty much figure it out on myself, so it's not all that big of a deal. So the puzzles can also be rewarding, but they can also be challenging at the same time. And as for the survival, well, I already told you about hallways and crap, so you already know. And even with all these good things, Bendy also has some bad things to go along with it. Now, we're going to be talking about those as well. So, not a lot, honestly. There's not a lot to where it kills the game or kills your perspective about it or kills your chance to play it. It's just little minor things that I've noticed that pretty much didn't like and everything. The first bad thing about the game is that some of the puzzles require way too much backtracking. And what I mean by that is that there are some puzzles that have you running from one area of the level or the room, whatever the hell you want to call it, have you running from one area of the room all the way to the other side, and sometimes go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This becomes repetitive, it becomes monotonous, and it becomes really, really, really annoying. Because, for one, I already hate puzzles enough as it is. So, having me run back and forth to solve one, it's just dumb. Just dumb. Give you an example. There's a puzzle, well, not even much of a puzzle. It's more about you just getting a certain item and using it to pretty much get another certain item so you can use that for a puzzle. Okay, so there could be a time where you could pretty much run down the hallway and try to get to the other side of the room where there are cartoon characters roaming the hallway, and if they see you, all it takes is 2 hits until you're dead. So you have to avoid them the rest of the way. But then there are some times where you literally have to like get more than one thing that you need to solve that other thing. So you have to run all the way there, grab it, run all the way back, put it in a machine or something, use that machine, get the thing, and then put it where it's supposed to be. Guess what? You got 2 or 3 more to go, and then next thing you know, boom, you solved the puzzle. Like, really? Like, really? Really? So you have me running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for this one damn puzzle. That's not even a freaking puzzle. It's just you getting a certain item and putting it right where it is. That's not a puzzle. That's just monotony. And I can't believe I just risked my life like 3 to 4 separate times to get the stupid item that I needed. But not as bad as the second and final thing that pretty much stood out to me as like kind of like a really kind of moment. And that's the ending. It was confusing and it left more questions than answers. Now, I know that when it comes to games, the ending isn't really meant to pretty much put a close on things. Maybe it's meant to pretty much give us more fuel for a sequel that we can understand. But as far as I'm concerned, this is supposed to be the end of the game. And it's confusing to me that how this game really ended. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm just not going to spoil it. But remember when I was saying at the beginning of this how Bendy pretty much plays a part in the entire game as well as the outcome of the ending? Well, even with all of that, and even when they showed what part he played, I was still confused. Like, majorly confused. I kept sitting there like, what just happened? Or what's gonna happen now? What was the whole point of this ending? And all of this is what's gonna like, is there gonna be a sequel? Is there gonna be another part to the story? Is there gonna be another puzzle piece, or is this one gonna remain a mystery? I don't really know. But all I know is that the ending is just not up to my expectation. Now, some of you might have a different opinion about the ending. And I'm just saying that I felt like I expected more. After all the shit I've been through, after all the demons and cartoons and fucking puzzles and all that stuff I've been through, I expected more out of the ending. But the fact that we got an ending like this, it kind of disappointed me. Like, here I am hoping that the ending will finally put an end to all of this stress and everything, and I'm still confused. Like, I'm still trying to figure out the ending. I watched this clip over and over and over again to try to understand it, but I'm still not getting it. What is the whole point of this? But if you guys know the whole point of the ending, please explain it to me. Leave it down in the comments below, because right now I'm still confused even by doing this review. But like I said, the ending and the puzzle aren't enough for me to pretty much say this game is bad. As a matter of fact, this is a great game, especially the fact that we got a full console release in 2018. And I think it's perfect. But sadly, it's not on par with Alien Isolation, but it's still enough to garner a good scare. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're pretty much loving a game with a lot of scares, jump scares, and whatnot, then this is probably the game for you. Like I said, I wanted to play this game because of the fact that, despite the fact that I'm not used to playing games with jump scares or games that are supposed to scare me, I still wanted to play this game because the story itself was interesting. And even with a unsatisfying ending, the story is enough to get you hooked into it. But like I said, depending on how you see the ending, that's all on you. But as far as I'm concerned, I love everything else about the game. I love the style of it. I love the lore. I love the fact that it doesn't revolve around finding weapons and everything, and more about solving puzzles and using your wits to survive. And I love the fact that it makes you feel like that you're actually walking around an actual abandoned studio. And I love every moment of it, man. Even in parts where it's scared and terrified the apple living piss out of me, I still enjoy this game. And with that in mind, I give Bendy and the Ink Machine an 8 out of 10, which means it was great. The game does what it's supposed to do, and that's to provide some scary moments and to scare you. Much like other games like The Evil Within and Alien Isolation, this game succeeds in making you feel as if you truly are alone with these demonic creatures who are trying to kill you, as you not only look for a means to escape, but you're also trying to learn more about the world itself and how it came to be what it is. And as you explore deeper and deeper into the old studio, you will find more and more terrible discoveries that will question your sanity. Well, not really question your sanity, like it'll pretty much give you an anxiety attack and you'll pretty much be sitting in the dark, pretty much shaking for the next hour and a half, like I was. But otherwise, this was one hell of a ride, and I pretty much recommend it. So if you ever find Bendy and the Ink Machine at your local GameStop and you pretty much see a physical copy of it, please pick it up, try it, and tell me what you think about it. Or if you pretty much see the whole thing on Steam, be sure to buy it on Steam. I think it's worth it. I think it's a great one, even though that I wasn't satisfied with the ending. The game and the gameplay itself is still enough to pretty much play maybe like 2 or 3 more times. But it's not bad. I love it, and I'm probably not going to go to sleep for a while. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been my review of Bendy and the Ink Machine. And what the heck is that?